Hello my Funatics and welcome to another Why You Should Use video. Today we will be concentrating on that snazzy lizard Salazzle, but before we dive into that, John, do you want to tell them about a video on your channel that they can watch afterwards?
Yes, I do. On our channel, we're going to be telling you guys why you should use Dhelmise in Pokemon Sun and Moon. I did say our channel. Sam is taking over my channel, but that's okay. I hope you guys are really enjoying this series, and if you are, make sure you stay tuned because Salazzle's a cool Pokemon, and maybe afterwards you can check out Dhelmise.
Design.
Salandit, the pre-evolution of Salazzle, was actually announced really early when Pokemon Sun and Moon were announced, and it is very cool. It's got some really cheeky, dastardly looking eyes, and it's caught the heart of millions of people who saw that announcement video. And we were all, I would have to say, very impressed by the creepy looking evolution. I think it looks really menacing and badass. It's kind of slightly out of proportion with these long, thin arms and slender, spindly fingers. It's just kind of creepy and menacing, but in the best way possible.
But for some reason, only females have been found, and that's not a bad thing on its own, but females are the only way you can actually evolve a Salandit, so if you want to get a Salazzle, you have to get a female, and it's only a 1 in 8 encounter rate to find the female, so a lot of people have been stuck with the males. Myself, I've been stuck with a male. I really want a Salazzle in my game, but I've been having a hard time finding a female, so make sure when you go and catch one of these in the game, it is a female if you want to deal with the very cool and menacing Salazzle.
Typing and stats.
Salazzle is a fire poison type, and this is really cool. It's an original, completely unique typing that no other Pokemon has so far, and it's one of only very few Pokemon to resist fairy types 4 times. Now the only other Pokemon at the moment is Heatran, so that's really good. Fairies are having a very nice time at the moment because they can spam their moves with very few things being able to take them very well. Now this thing has the typing that hopefully will be able to help with that. It also is very decent offensive typing. It can hit steel types with the fire type moves and then can spam poison type moves on pretty much anything else. There are some things that resist, but the combination is a very good offensive typing. It is slightly let down because it's 4 times weak to ground type moves, so you need to watch out for those. And also it's weak to Stealth Rock, which is a very common move competitively. But it's got decent typing for being an offensive mon.
Speaking of being an offensive mon, that is the only thing Salazzle is. All of its stats are terrible except for special attack and speed, where it has a 111 special attack and it has a 117 speed. That's kind of all you really have to talk about there. If you use it to do anything else, you're dealing with a stat that is 60 or lower, which is obviously not good whatsoever, but even though those aren't that good, 110, anything above 110 in any stat is a really good stat. So as long as you're not getting hit too often, this thing can definitely put in a lot of work.
Ability.
Salazzle again has a unique ability to go with its unique typing, and that is Corrosion. Now with this ability, it can poison anything. Basically anything. So that's poison types and steel types that are usually immune to the poison status. Now that's a really cool ability and could be very useful, apart from maybe not so much for Salazzle because it has the fire typing too, and this really helps it to deal with all the steel types. So you don't really need to be poisoning them because you could hit them with a very powerful fire type move. Again, with poisons, a lot of them have a dual typing with grass or something like that that is also hit by the fire type. So this ability, though it's really cool, Salazzle probably can't use it to its best. It does have another ability in Oblivious, and this means that other Pokemon can't use Taunt or Attract against it. You don't see Attract too much competitively, and also Taunt probably isn't the most important thing to block. You're quite fast, you can probably do what the Taunter wants you to not do before it gets a chance to taunt you. So again, this ability isn't too useful. Neither ability is like standout. There may be situations where you want to use one over the other, but they're not going to help too much in what Salazzle wants to do, in my opinion.
Moves.
The best move that Salazzle get is by far Nasty Plot. Beyond that, it's kind of stab, doesn't really get much coverage, and it doesn't get one move that is very important, which I'll get into in a little bit. With Nasty Plot, you can really take advantage of its best stats as a really high special attack. With a Nasty Plot, it becomes a really elite and terrifying special attack And with 117 speed, you're already outspeeding a lot of different Pokemon on your opponent's side of the field. So if you can get rid of enough things, you could actually sweep a good amount of teams with this thing, depending on the kind of priority they have left, if they have a Choice Scarf or anything like that. But Nasty Plot really helps this Pokemon out. Obviously, it's going to have, Poison Stab, Fire Stab with Sludge Bomb or Sludge Wave, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, or even Overheat if you want. You could do some sort of Venoshock Toxic combo, especially when it comes to having the ability Corrosion. That it's not something that's really exciting, but it could be fun to use. You get Poison a Heatran, that's pretty awesome. There's not really a ton of other types that can switch into this combo. I mean, it's almost like this Pokemon was created for Heatran, but that's a whole other thing. If you want to try that out, be my guest. And Venoshock, it's whole thing, but it also has Dragon Pulse. Again, as I said, it doesn't really have coverage, but if you're gonna Nasty Plot, have, a Poison Stab, Fire Stab, you could have Dragon Pulse as the only really coverage move. It's situational at best, but it could do something helpful. Or have Knockoff. I mean, Knockoff's not gonna hit hard, but you can get rid of items. Maybe get rid of the Choice Scarf as they switch in, and then you can outspeed and take on their team. You also have an Encore, Disable, Taunt, and Will-O-Wisp. That could be another helpful move. Maybe you don't want to have Dragon Pulse as the coverage. You don't think it's really worth it. So you could just put Encore. That would allow you to set up a Nasty Plot after you Encore them doing something that's not going to hurt you. You can Taunt. Will-O-Wisp could be nice. Disable could be nice. But the biggest thing that is missing on this Pokemon is either U-Turn or Volt Switch. Whether or not it would make sense for this Pokemon to have either of those moves, being a Pokemon that doesn't have any defenses but has really high special attack and speed, being able to get in and out of there really quickly is very nice. And also having a stab that is completely, there's immunities to poison types, and a lot of Pokemon have Flash Fire. Choice locking this Pokemon into one of those two moves as you don't really have good coverage, you could get stuck as they switch into a Steel type, you don't do anything. They switch into a Flash Fire Pokemon, you can't really do anything. So having U-Turn or Volt Switch would allow you to get in and out easily, but sadly, I can't say that's a notable move for Salazzle.
Set idea.
So with this set, Salazzle is going to be a special attacker. We've said that's really the best thing that it's going to be doing. We're going to give it a Life Orb so that it hits hard. The ability is going to be Oblivious because it can't really use Corrosion on this set. We've given it a Timid nature because it needs to really hit that max speed that it can, so that it's outspeeding some of the things that are around base 115 speed. There are a number of things there. Being able to outspeed them is fantastic. And then investing max special attack, max speed. The moves we've given it, Nasty Plot, we've said is probably the best move it has, just because it does boost that special attack even further and allows it to maybe even sweep. We've given it Fire Blast to hit really hard, Sludge Wave to hit hard rather than Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb could get some poisons, but because we don't have Corrosion, Sludge Wave just for the immediate power is probably better. And then the final move, we've given Knockoff. Now this obviously isn't a special move, it's a physical move, and so it's not going to be hitting hard, but what it's there for is to get rid of leftovers and things like that on walls. At the moment, Alolan Marowak is everywhere, and this is being run especially defensively. A lot of them have the leftovers, some of them have the Thick Club. Getting rid of either of those items is really, really useful. Leftovers means that it'll be a lot easier to deal with. You can chip it away over time until a point when Salazzle can set up a Nasty Plot and finish it off. If it's got the Thick Club, knocking that off means your switching will have a much easier time. Marowak won't be hitting hard at all. So that was the idea for this set, but there are a couple of other options, right, John?
There are, and one of the better options would be a sub-Encore set. You can Encore them to a move that's not going to do anything. Maybe they're getting Stealth Rocks up. You can Encore them to go for that again. Obviously, you can't set up 2 layers of Stealth Rocks, so as they have to switch out, you can go for a substitute. Maybe then you're even Encore sub Nasty Plot. I mean, it's probably not the best thing, but depending on the matchup, that could work. Or just sub Encore 2 attacks, as it really doesn't have good coverage anyway, so you can have the fire attacks and the poison attacks, and really take advantage of that good speed and special attack. If you can get behind that sub safely, you could really start decimating the opponent's team, and it's just going to be really hard to deal with a Pokemon that fast and that strong when you can't take it out, unless you have a sound move, but that's a whole other thing. And I would say it's a pretty good set that you might as well try using.
So there you have it, Salazzle, the fast, powerful Pokemon, bit frail, but it has some really interesting utility moves too. I think this could be really fun to use, and you can be quite creative with some of those utility moves like Encore, Disable, things like that. So I really advocate you trying it out and seeing what you can do with it. But that's going to be all for today. As John said, please check out his channel for a video on Delmise, which is a very cool new Pokemon, very original design that we're all liking a lot. All that's left to be said is I've been Fufu, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.